Hey YouTube, it's Nebros, and we're back today with another Raver Says Desu video, this time Collective Shout. Uh, yeah, this is gonna be a funny one. Well, not really funny, I don't think, but you know what I mean. Uh, Before we get into it, link to the original video will be down below. Comment, like, and subscribe so your view counts as an engaged viewer, and you'll be helping me out a lot, and yeah, let's get into it.
Hey, what's up, guys? We're here. So today we're once again talking about censorship-related concerns in regards to Collective Shout and the payment processors they're attempting to put pressure on to get various games banned. Now, as always with
Games, not Pornhub or OnlyFans or anything like that. Just games.
these types of videos, make sure your view counts by being an engaged viewer. That's the new system on YouTube. You can ensure that by liking, commenting, or subscribing on this video. It will not only
Yeah, I'll do all three. I don't mind.
help get the message out there, but also make sure that your view counts. Now, we're looking once again at Collective Shout. And we were wondering the other day, what's their next move? They said they're planning something, they're trying to do something to enhance their message. Well, apparently that new thing is playing the ultimate victim. They are now calling their experience Gamergate on steroids. They are going full oppression Olympics here. They are trying to make themselves out to be martyrs, and as we will see later in this video, they're now asking for handouts. They're asking you for money while they go around trying to get all of your favorite games banned. I mean, the audacity of these people is insane.
Wow.
Now, of course, we've been talking about Collective Shout a lot. It is a group of feminists out of Australia who had a very successful strategy the last couple of weeks where they go after payment processors and say, hey, ban this problematic content by saying to the payment
Yeah. Adult games on Steam is no, that's not allowed. Lil Tay's 18th birthday, in which she made over $1 million in 3 hours from selling herself on OnlyFans. That's fine. You know, I don't get it. It's very weird.
processors remove your services from Steam or itch.io, and it's worked. It's gotten thousands of games banned, and of course, with these payment processors, as you can see, their morals are very, very inconsistent, but the sort of targeting of payment processors in order to get third-party systems to ban certain content is something that might not work anymore, at least in the United States, and again, we'll talk about that a little later in the video.
Yep.
Now, before we get into everything, Smash JT shared a group of leaked images. Apparently, they're going around on Collective Shout's page and going through their email list and sending out these messages, mainly looking for cash. They're looking for donations because apparently they're not getting enough. And now, because they're being bombarded by all these hateful gamers, they need more cash. Now, let's look at some of these screenshots here. Addressed. We cannot let our enemies win. Yes, it's not their critics, it's not people with different opinions. They're calling all these people who go against them their enemies. So if you disagree with what they're doing, you are their enemy. If it wasn't clear enough already, I mean, they're literally trying to basically play the moral authority and ban games that they have a personal issue with. But anyways, they say this.
Yeah, I guess they don't have a personal issue with 18-year-olds making millions on OnlyFans because they're selling their bodies and basically prostituting themselves out, or maybe that follows the whole woman empowerment thing. Maybe it's only not a problem when women choose to do it themselves.
Dear blank, over the last 2 weeks, we have been subjected to the largest coordinated cyber attack in Collective Shout's 15-year history. Our team has been hit with a daily barrage of vile abuse and harassment. We've been bombarded with threats. Our images have been morphed into adult content. We've been doxxed. Haters have circulated our photos and tried to find our home addresses. As always, notice with these sorts of claims, especially when it comes to the threats, they
So
have no receipts to back up any.
excuse me. Abuse and harassment, bombarded with rape threats, and the image has been morphed into a coin. It's exactly that sort of thing that they stand against. And so the reason I don't believe that any of this is actually happening, maybe the death threats, but the reason I don't believe any of this is actually happening is because gamers are not stupid to make their case for them. It's all very convenient that the accusations are being thrown out without any actual proof of them being thrown out, and what you dismiss what you assert without evidence, I'm going to dismiss without evidence. That said, I don't approve of that sort of behavior, regardless. There's no need to be abusive and harassing and harass other people. You call them out on their bullshit, fine. You see that they're taken to task for it, fine. You don't need to harass or threaten with death.
Anything. They're just saying this and hoping you'll just accept them at face value. But
Yep.
they continue on saying 10 petitions were launched against us full of false accusations. We got to
What, only
up
10?
those numbers. Those are rookie numbers right there. Only 10 petitions. We got to get more. And then they say Elon Musk retweeted one of them. There are currently hundreds of YouTube videos.
Elon Musk retweeted one of them. Oh no! Anyway.
Slandering us. What caused this vicious pylon? Now, of course,
What caused this vicious pylon? Come on. You know exactly what caused it.
when they say YouTube videos slandering us, they mean people criticizing them, right? They can't actually name anything that's slandering them. They just think anything that goes against their narrative is slander or threats. And again, keep this in mind. They consider Elon Musk retweeting one of these petitions as a threat. They thought that put their physical safety at risk.
Yeah, because Elon Musk is supposedly a Nazi, but I'll tell you why he's not. Nazis made good cars.
Because he dared to repost a petition. But here's another screenshot, again, referring to you, really just gamers in general, as their enemies. Our enemy.
I'm okay with them referring to gamers as our enemies because, you know what, they're no friend of mine. They want to get my games banned and your games banned, and they want to get a whole lot of video games banned because of how they perceive women to be treated in them. Whether women are treated that way or portrayed in that way or not, they want to get video games banned. So, yeah, they're no friends of mine. So I'm okay with being called an enemy of theirs.
Are trying to destroy our operating systems. They've gone after our global allies, charitable partners, ambassadors, and other backers. They've tried to get social media platforms to shut us down, but we won't let them.
I doubt that.
Your tax deductible gift today will, of course. That's where it goes next.
Oh, and it's a tax deductible gift, meaning they don't pay taxes on it either.
Grifts, ladies and gentlemen. People love throwing that word around basically to mean anyone who thinks differently than me. But yeah, this is really the grifts, okay? They pick a fight. They get criticism and backlash. They kick the hornet's nest, so to speak. And now they're playing the victim. And now they're asking for money. This is a completely self-created situation, and now they're trying to financially profit from it.
Yeah, so there's a line from Dragon Age Inquisition that I absolutely adore. It was one of the best lines I've ever heard in a video game. And Cassandra was talking about the breach and everything, and why the Chantry doesn't do anything, and why the Templars aren't doing anything, and she says she also believes that nobody cares to do anything about it. They will stand in the fire and complain that it's hot. Well, Collective Shout's not exactly doing that. They essentially set themselves on fire, figuratively of course, and are now complaining that it burns. And on top of that, they're blaming, quote unquote, our enemies for it. I have zero sympathy for them.
They pick the fight, they start losing, and then they start begging for money. It's absolutely insane. It's so transparent what they're doing here. But this is a screenshot of their system here. They want you to donate right here, and they make it so easy for you. All you got to do is literally just click these numbers, including $1,000. Yeah, they have that one all pre-set up for you. You can go right to it, click that 1,000, and give them $1,000.
Sorry, who has $1,000 to just blow like that, just lying around? And more to the point, imagine in the first place, imagine having $1,000 just to blow on just any random old thing. Imagine blowing it on this shit.
A band, if you will, to do what? To take away your video games because
Mm.
they're moral busybodies who want to control what other people can consume.
Yeah, this is essentially you paying them to get rid of your games for you. Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. And you can see what this tax deductible gift will do. It'll help protect their cyber systems from malicious attacks, help keep our online spaces free of women haters
No, it
and
won't.
trolls, of course, because it can't be the fact that people are criticizing you because of the value of what you're saying. No, no, no. It's because they're women haters and trolls. They also say help us.
Which means the value of what they're saying is intrinsically tied to their gender, meaning that and this is going to be taken the wrong way, but I don't mean it the way it's going to sound. Um, so they're women. What they're saying is they're literally tying when they accuse people of being women haters and trolls. Um, when they accuse people of being women haters and trolls, they're literally tying their crusade, their mission, what they're saying, to the fact that they are women, which not because they're women means that what they're saying and what they're doing has no value. So um, there's a whole rationale, and I'll maybe cover that in a different thing, but hopefully you can see where I'm going with that one.
Us collate briefs of evidence for police, e-safety, and our lawyers. Help uphold our freedoms and rights to continue speaking out. Send a message that we will not be defeated. With your support, we know we will overcome. Amazing stuff
Overcome what? The shitstorm you brought on yourselves?
from them. And I find this one really interesting right here about how they're trying to get evidence together for the police. That's
Mm-hmm.
part of what you're paying for, apparently. Well, as we'll see in a bit, they can't even get the police to respond because they're giving the police nothing that is actionable. And I guarantee they're just basically showing them these people are being mean to us online. Do something. Come on, the
Yeah,
states,
that's probably the case.
arrest these people for having wrongthink. But anyways,
Come on, the state, arrest these people for having wrong thing. Sounds rather fashy coded to me.
yesterday we looked at this post by Coralie and also Melinda, two members of Collective Shout, and they said they're strategizing their next takedown.
Does that picture just not explain everything? I mean, honestly, it explains everything.
Very aggressive language, labeling people as their enemies. They're not doing protective moves, they're doing takedowns. They're going to take down your video games. Now, of course, Coralie has been getting a lot of her tweets dredged up, including this one from 2015 that's an absolute banger, okay? So it says this. Many of these games also involve misogyny and the over sexualization and objectification of women. Female characters are often depicted as weak, they wear revealing clothes or appear naked, and are
Uh-huh.
cast as negative figures such as prostitutes. Wow, that's not very progressive to say.
No.
Anyways, they say some games even encourage the exploitation and abuse of women to unlock rewards and boost players' abilities.
Okay, so we've just heard that gobbledygook there. Note that this is from September 2015. What games is she referring to specifically? Yeah? What games? So let's go to the first line. Many of these games also involve misogyny and over-the-top sexualization and objectification of women. Uh, which games? Which games do that? The first one that comes to mind is Bayonetta, maybe. But Anita Sarkeesian went over that one with a fine-tooth comb, and people still play Bayonetta. What else? What other games could be? I can't even think of any. I literally can't think of any games that fit that bill. All right, so let's move on. Remember, we're looking at like 2015 time frame. So female characters are often depicted as weak. Again, in which games? I've got games dating back to the early 2000s, right? Um, let me think of ones that up to about 2015. So, just looking at my Steam list, I've got Dungeon Siege 1 and 2. There's Elder Scrolls Oblivion. There's Elder Scrolls Skyrim. And in Skyrim, women are not portrayed as weak or overly sexualized, and there's almost no misogyny that I can think of. Actually, one of the strongest female characters in the game, one of the strongest characters in the game, is a female. That being the Serana and Delphine. Um, let's see. Middle Earth: Shadow of Mordor. No, there's no there's no misogyny and there's no portrayal of weak females in that one. There's Eoreth, who is Talion's wife, and she gets killed. Um, but she was never a warrior in the first place. And then there's Lothariel, who is a warrior, and she's a badass. Um, Saints Row, perhaps misogyny and over sexualization, but not really even. Not beyond what you, the player, can personally control, and none of it has anything to do with getting rewards or anything. Um, there's revealing clothes and whatnot, sure, um, but there's no prostitutes in Saints Row, and none of the females in the game are portrayed as weak. Let's see, GTA. Now we know they were successful in getting GTA removed off itchy. Um, GTA, there are prostitutes in that game, and many of the female characters are not the badasses that the men are, but they're not supposed to be. And doing anything with the prostitutes is completely optional. You can literally just ride past them. There's not even any achievements linked to them. So, and you know what? Prostitutes do exist. I'm sorry, Collective Shout, they do. So, yeah, when they make these accusations about games portraying women in this way, I want to know what games specifically.
Yeah, we better call the police. These poor victims over here. Oh, wait, they're not real.
Yeah,
We're talking about video
that's
game
another thing.
characters.
They're not
Like,
real.
are we serious? Is this the best?
So they want to go after females portrayed in video games that are portrayed in this particular way that they haven't actually like they haven't actually explained what games portray women this way, but they don't seem to give a fig about OnlyFans and Fansly and porn sites and things like that. So, they're going after stuff. Their target audience, their target demographic, actually don't exist because they're sprites in a computer game.
Collective Shout has this moral manipulation, but of course, yeah, the other person in this dynamic duo, Melinda, who's a staunch defender of cuties.
Oh God. Okay, so we're against sexploitation, quote unquote. I think I just vomited a little bit in my mouth having said that. Look, I'm not I'm not against removing the exploitation of anyone. Man, woman, child, exploitation's bad, right? I want to make that clear. That doesn't minimize that doesn't minimize any specific efforts to get rid of exploitation. But you can't go and say you're going to crusade to remove the exploitation of women out of games and then defend cuties. For God's sake, is this woman stupid?
Well, they recently made this article that is just Collective Shout in a nutshell. They are trying so bad to be the victims in this situation. Like I said, they picked a fight, they effed around, and now they're finding out, and now they're playing the role of the victim. And you can see the title here, Gamergate on steroids. Abuse of small all-woman team at Collective Shout documented by online hates. Yeah, this is really interesting because they're considering themselves even harder than Gamergate. They think they're going through more than what Gamergate was, which is pretty insane because they've been doing this for like a week.
Honestly, I've got no idea what the original Gamergate was all about anyway. As far as I could tell, it was some bitter, frigid old hag who was mad that her boyfriend played video games.
It's been like a week or two of backlash, and they're already saying that this is Gamergate on steroids. Can you imagine wanting to play the victim so badly in a fight that you started? Now, looking at the article, it's all about them, right? You can see the question here: how has this impacted you? And here's one of the members of Collective Shout saying, it's completely overwhelming. Attempting to moderate comments, block, delete, report, or report to authorities takes so much time. It is also relentless with no end in sight. It's really difficult to set appropriate boundaries with screen time and step away or take any time off because the abuse doesn't stop.
I mean, is this the consequences of your actions? You started the fight. You told millions of people that basically were coming for your games and your anime, and you're surprised. You're surprised that it doesn't stop. It's probably not limited to the US, so you're getting it from like every time zone. That's why it doesn't stop.
Every morning, I wake early with a sense of dread.
Oh,
What
poor
new
baby.
disaster has happened overnight? There's also fear. I fear for my safety, for the safety of my children, and for all my colleagues. I fear for our mental health. It's not easy being on the receiving end of a sustained, targeted campaign of hate. Wow, it's a coordinated, sustained, and targeted campaign of hate.
I mean, hello, what the hell? I mean, it could be all of those things. That just the issue is that it's not quite as organized as they think it is. It's just that way because it probably covers many time zones. So you got like the EU, the NA, you got the JP, you got the NZ side, you probably got the CAT as well. I mean, there's a huge community of gamers down here in South Africa as well, so who been talking about this. So yeah, look, if the fear is genuine and they actually been getting the threats and everything, I don't agree with that. I don't think harassment's the right way to do it because you're kind of making their case for them. But gamers aren't that stupid anyway, so I doubt it's happening. Playing devil's advocate, it's something I must give the benefit of the doubt and say that it's not happening, and therefore and say that maybe it is happening, and therefore I must condemn it, because it's not the way to actually resolve anything. We're beyond that sort of thinking and necessity where we have to actively harm people to get our point across or get our way. But I mean, you got to know that when you do that, what they did, you got to know that this is the kind of response you're letting yourself into. So you got to be very careful when you're opening up that can of worms.
Definitely not just, criticism, but anyways, they continue on saying, it's frustrating to see lies and misinformation being spread about our team and our work and have no way to respond or defend ourselves.
But you do. You do have a way to respond and defend yourself. I'm not sure what the hell. Oh, never mind. They do have a way to respond and defend themselves by actually just clarifying and explaining the situation from their perspective and what their goals are. Transparency is what will actually defend them. And if it's defensible, people will back off. And if it's not, people will double down. But they lack the maturity to actually, in the first place, take that step, and in the second place, to actually look at what people are saying and take it on board. So that's probably that's a big reason why things are going so terribly badly for them.
I'm also feeling a sense of hopelessness and despair. Go to therapy or something. Like, why are
I
you
don't care.
letting this all out to the public? Anyways, they say, importantly, When I went to the police, I was sent away with a cyber safety pamphlet.
Mm-hmm.
E-safety responds that most of our reports are not actionable. Social media platforms rarely remove anything, and if they do, it's after the damage has been done.
Okay, so I speak under correction here, but to my understanding of how police action in this sort of matter would go is something like, um, let's say you got person A and person B. We'll call it Drake and Josh. Okay, Josh sends a death threat to Jake. So person B threatens person A. Person A, Drake, then takes it to the police. And if there is a credible threat, so the complaint will be handed up and will be escalated and whatnot, blah blah blah. Maybe patrol officers will will go out to assess and see what the situation is. If it needs to be escalated, it'll move up the chain to a detective who will then go through and check everything out and make the necessary moves and deal with it on that legal basis. That if a credible threat is if it is deemed that an imminent threat is credible and justifiable reason can be like you can actually prove like okay there's a credible threat, the detective will then go seek a warrant from a judge who will then look at it. There's precedent, there's a whole bunch of things that go into the judge signing that warrant, and then upon the successful granting of the warrant, the detective will then go to, say, X, for example, and get the information as stipulated by the warrant on Josh. So they can go and remove the credible threat. What's not happening with collective shout and why what's going on is not actionable, is probably they're just being called a stupid bitch. Like, what do they want the police to do about that? People are allowed to say that things. No, it's not particularly nice, but it's not a credible threat to. It's not an imminent, credible threat. There is no immediate exigent circumstance here that requires immediate police intervention, right? So, yeah, the reason you were sent away is because it's fluff. It's a waste of police resources to even look into it.
That's interesting because in their little tax deductible donation they're looking for, they say one of the things is bringing evidence to the police, but it sounds like the police don't want to help them because there's nothing actionable. So
Yeah,
it's
there's
kind
no
of
evidence.
misleading to include that in these sort of rewards of donating to Collective Shout. But,
Hmm.
anyways, continues on saying, feels like there are no real protections for women and girls online. And I
Uh,
worry this abuse towards us will have a chilling effect on women speaking out more generally because they know not only what potentially awaits them, but they are also seeing, just as our abusers are, that there are no consequences for perpetuators of abuse. This
okay, so in particular, I know that places like LA the police have a zero tolerance policy towards calls of domestic violence. That means that if they get called out to a case of domestic violence, um, someone is leaving there in handcuffs, right? Now, this doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to be the man. There are cases where women domestically abuse their men, but those I fear are highly underreported because of social stigma. And two, the idea that there's no protections is absolutely ridiculous. Perhaps online, but again, who's going to protect you from being called a bitch? If you're being stupid, if you're being an idiot, then people have the right to call you out on that. It's not necessarily abuse, it's not necessarily hate, it's not necessarily threats or anything like that. They're just calling you stupid. They're calling a spade a spade.
level of abuse directed towards women who speak out against men's violence and abuse of women
Which men?
shows exactly why our work is necessary. Now, all this
Yeah. So, this level of abuse directed towards women who speak out against men's violence and abuse of women shows exactly why our work is necessary. And that is exactly why I don't believe that it's happening. as the consummate devil's advocate, I must give them the benefit of the doubt and say that it's, it's wrong for people to do that, and it is. But I don't believe that it's actually happening because it makes their point for them. It makes their case. And people aren't, like, in particular, gamers are not that stupid.
Sounds fine and dandy until you realize they're exaggerating everything, they're making things up, they're making claims with no evidence, and also
Yeah, and that's another thing. A major bugbear of mine is assertion without evidence. If you're gonna make an assertion, if you're gonna how does that saying go? That which can be asserted without evidence can also be dismissed without evidence. And they've provided no evidence of their claims of any of the harassment or bullying or death threats or anything that they're going through, which means that I am prepared and well within my rights and perfectly reasonable for me to do so to dismiss their claims without evidence.
that they're blaming this all on men. It's all men and all these poor women out there. They're going to have this terrible impression of how they're going to be treated if they speak out against whatever. But the reality is there's a ton of women speaking out against Collective Shout, and they don't want to recognize them. They don't matter. In fact, we've seen them label women as men. They show the tweets coming from female ran accounts, and they're calling them men because they can't accept the idea, the notion that a woman could ever disagree with their campaign. But let's continue on. Later in that same article, there's an additional analysis where they show this tweet. So it says, in an otherwise sensible Reddit discussion of proposed
a sensible Reddit discussion. You're pulling my leg, right?
internet ID laws in Australia linked to this tweet containing disinformation about one of
Disinformation is that's not a word. Let's think about the word disinformation. If you are disinterested in something, it means you are not interested. If you are disinclined to do something, it means that you don't want to do it. So if that's the case, what does disinformation mean? What is it? And is it non-information? That's why it's stupid. Disinformation isn't a thing. They mean misinformation.
one of their members. You can see there's censorship here, right, of the profile and also the name. It's Melinda. They're talking about, and the tweet says, The Guardian has covered the Collective Shout shenanigans, but Melinda was appointed to the Stakeholder Advisory Board for the government's age assurance technology. She will be part of the body that decides how censorship is enacted. This woman is anti-abortion, anti-vax, anti-expression, anti-woman. She wants to ban adverts, bakeries from cheeky jokes, shun any company raising money for breast cancer, wrong lies about video games being marketed to kids, wants Detroit become human banned, but defends cuties. And this is really funny because they censor all this out to hide who it is. And you know why they're hiding who it is? It's because it's a woman. It's Madam Savvy. Probably one of the biggest people going after Collective Shout. They really made a bad move by being dismissive and rude of her. And yeah, the reason they're censoring her is because, well, again, she is a woman who's disagreeing with their narrative, who's calling them out. And it just doesn't line up with the perception they're trying to give the public that it's only these angry male gamers that have an issue with what they're doing. And when a woman dares to have wrongthink in their minds, well, they have to censor it because it goes against their narrative.
Yeah, and you know what that means? Especially since she's on the appointed to the Stakeholders Advisory Board for the government's age assurance technology. So she's effectively, if not government, she's government adjacent. And then using her authority to censor people. Do you know what that is? That's fascism. So, yeah, there you go, folks. There's a clear example of what fascism is. But it's so weird that they. No, I'll finish that.
Now, of course, she would mock this by saying, ha ha ha, you had to cover my face because you can't show a woman is disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, she was actually the one who was labeled as a man in reference to one of her tweets back a couple weeks ago,
Savvy should
which
sue for
again, very
defamation.
interesting stuff. But there's more to look at here. So apparently, Riot Games, now we're moving a little bit beyond Collective Shout, but the
Mm-hmm.
strategy of
Haven't seen those.
going after the payment processors and putting pressure on them to enact your goals is something that is being hidden by Riot Games. Apparently, they are shutting down any discourse about these topics, about these payment processors, which is a very strange thing for Riot to be doing. But with this strategy, like I said, it might be coming to an end, at least in the United States.
Yeah.
So President Trump
I heard
signed
about
an
this,
executive order to combat unconstitutional payment processor censorship. And basically what this is trying to do, it's trying to prevent companies from just straight up saying, no, we can't work with you. These payment processors can't just say, you go against our brand, like we've seen in their rules. They have very open-ended rules about their brand protection, and that this thing that you're trying to buy through them might harm their reputation as a payment processor, which is really,
for God's sake.
really stupid. And I think it's just a
I
way
agree.
to basically enforce your morals onto other people.
Yeah, it's a way for them to push their moral sensibilities onto their clients, onto the people who use their uh, payment processing service, which is basically everyone. Um, and also, it's a way for them to control how you spend your money.
And to say, hey, you can't play this game, you can't purchase that thing. It might be legal, but we don't approve of it. It's hurting our brand. Well, apparently that is what this executive order is supposed to be shutting down, which really takes away all of the sting of Collective Shout and these payment processors. It pretty much disrupts everything they're doing and what
In
they've
the
been able
USA
to do
at least, yeah.
to have success with their movement. But hopefully this starts to bring things down, and hopefully this spreads to other countries who come up with similar rules. But
I hope it does
it's
too.
a long way to go. There's a lot to do here. But for now, that's going to do it on this latest update involving.
Yeah, so my takeaway, Collective Shout has set themselves figuratively on fire, is complaining they're getting burned and blaming men for it. And they want your money to continue to be able to basically Karen out on you so that they can get rid of your video games. All the while painting you as the bad guy for not wanting your stuff taken away from you. I think it's stupid. And my overall opinion is so they're miffed about the backlash and whatnot. And you know what? Don't start nothing, won't be nothing. Right? And my advice to Collective Shout moving forward would be that the trick of business is minding your own. If you're going to make accusations of women being portrayed in a particular way in video games and whatnot, then you better have the video games you're specifically alluding to. Otherwise, I'm going to call bullshit. And I think it's incredibly hypocritical that they'll go after women, the portrayal of women in video games. And again, I've looked over a list as I've been watching the video of over 800 games, and I cannot think of one of them in which in which women are portrayed the way the Collective Shout says they are. So, yeah, they need to be more specific. But I think, as I said, I think it's very hypocritical that they've been going on at the portrayal of women in video games and the over sexualization of women in video games, and they've done nothing about like OnlyFans or Pornhub or anything like that. Um, is sexualization of women only okay when they do it to themselves? And why doesn't anybody actually want to stop the payment of men paying for those services? Is it not degrading towards women? I don't know. I think with the economy these days, you get your bag however you can. I don't necessarily have to approve, but I can respect the hustle. But yeah, I think they're just a bunch of hypocrites. Probably Anita Sarkeesian acolytes from back in the day, and they're just Karens, really. So that's my take. Link to the original video will be down below. Be sure to check it out if you want to. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe. Comment, like, or subscribe rather. You can do one or all three just to keep your view engaged. And with that, we'll see you in the next one. Let me know what you think of my overlays and setup and whatnot. Um, Still working things out and getting the nitty gritty. Streams coming into Twitch soon, within the next couple days, if not tomorrow. And that's going to do it for this one. I'll see you again next time. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.